All right, JT, out of the gate here. First road trip of the year. I have a burning question for you.
All right. What is it?
How do you feel about the movie Shrek?
I mean, I enjoy Shrek. I don't know. I wouldn't say it's my favorite movie, but it's all right.
On the road again. I just can't wait to be on the road again. You know when Donkey sings that song?
Yes, I do. I do. Yeah, this is a long one.
Yeah.
It feels like we've been on the road for a long time, and it has not been that long yet. We still have quite a ways to go.
And I actually also have a confession that I have to make to you out of the gate as well. Right when we got to Montreal, the first stop of the trip, you lent me an adapter, aka a dongle, and I think I lost it among like 6 other things already, including my moisturizer, a pop socket. I thought I lost my phone charger at one point, and I'm a little bit of a mess, and so I need to replace that for you, unless it's in my bag, which it's possible. But at this point in the trip, I don't know where I am. I've been getting 3 nights or 3 hours of sleep a night, and yeah, that's
I
cracking hockey, baby.
figured that it was lost when you texted me and said, "Did I give your adapter back to you yet?" And I was like, "No, I'm pretty sure that that's gone." Now, the other question, how about the USB charger? Do you still have that?
I do have that.
Okay, so
I do have
we
that.
got 50% right now. We're still good.
Yeah. Luckily, I do have the same exact adapter at home that you gave me, so I could just give you that or order you a new one if I don't find it. But yeah, I've been sitting on that for a couple days. I'm like, I think I'm gonna drop that on the pod.
I kind of read between the lines on the text, and it's okay. We will get through. I have 2 of everything. I actually have 2 of those adapters in my bag for this reason is, and same thing with the extra chargers. I probably actually have 3 phone chargers because I'm guaranteed at some point to leave it behind.
So I feel like this was the perfect way to kick this off. It's our first road episode of the year. I think it's the longest road trip of the year as well.
Second line. There is a
longest trip.
14-day, I believe, in March, and this one is 12, but still very, very long.
Yeah. So we thought that because it's a road episode, we'd talk a little bit about life on the road. I went on Instagram and I asked followers for some questions that they had, and that was one of the ones that came to mind was if we had funny stories from the road and what life is like on the road. So
I mean, I'll start off. I mean, for me, life is good on the road at times. Like I don't get woken up at 6 o'clock in the morning. I got the kids running through, so I get to stay in my bed. I get to put on a nice little robe on an off day. I still will call them from time to time, but I will say it's been very good to be able to sleep in a little bit and not have to have the wake up. Well, sometimes they do still FaceTime me, but at least we're 3 hours ahead of time. So when 6 a.m. rolls around, it's usually 9, or it is 9. It's not usually 9. We are 3 hours ahead. So love that aspect. I mean, you know who I am. I like to be in my hotel room. I sit there, I watch movies, I play my Nintendo Switch as well. So I enjoy the road. Funny stories, though.
you have to have some funny stories from the road.
I mean, are you talking about like now or
Anytime, I think. Just a story from the road. I have
Um,
one that involves sushi.
the one I'm trying to remember.
I'm not sure I should share that though.
Since we're in Toronto right now, actually, this one goes back to when I was in Syracuse. We were having a team dinner, and I can't remember the name of the restaurant, but it's like one of the oldest steakhouses in Toronto. And this is kind of where my fear of like elevators comes through. But I got stuck in an elevator with our team.
Oh,
There was
man.
probably 12 to 14 of us in there. I'm pretty sure there were only supposed to be 6. It was one of the smallest elevators I've ever seen. So we got stuck. It felt like it was an hour and 20. It ended up only being like 15 minutes. Fire department had to come. They ripped open the doors, and it was only down maybe like 3 or 4 feet before it shut off. So we had to like crawl out.
Oh my gosh.
And you can imagine, like, it started to get pretty warm. You got 14 people in a enclosed space. So now, like, whenever we get into an elevator and like more and more people start enclosing in, I'm like,
Claustrophobic.
or if it's getting close to the end and I see it, like, I will wait for the next elevator. But yeah, that one, since we're in Toronto, that happened here. I don't remember the name of the restaurant, but yes, it was probably a 6-person elevator, and there might have been 12
I
or
was gonna say,
13
was it
in
like
there.
a service elevator to fit that many people?
Again, don't remember. We could have just taken the stairs. Like it's just down one flight, but everybody just piled in the elevator and it started going and went tick, tick, stop. And we're like, oh no, this is not good. Again, like I said, we were in there and I swear it felt like it was an hour and 20 minutes, but it only 15 to 20 minutes had passed before the fire department showed up. So yeah, that one was here. So that's the first one I'm thinking of.
Yeah, I also think of last year. I think it was last year. It all kind of bleeds together, but when we were stuck on the tarmac in Denver with
That
the
sound.
sound that the plane was making. I think we talked about it on the podcast, but I'm like, I'm never gonna forget. Never gonna forget that. Just wah, 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 wah. And then we ended up having to get off of the plane, back on the bus, back to a different hotel at I don't know, what was it, 3 in the morning maybe? I don't know how long we sat there. But before we went to Vegas the next day. Road
Mhm.
mishaps.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of times on the road too, it's all about having good dinners, going out, finding new restaurants. Every from time to time, you have a little bit of fun, but a lot of the time for me is always spent. I like kind of a little hermit, so I like being in my room and closed, get the blinds completely going, and a good movie.
I'm the same exact way. As you know, I'm also a hermit, but I have so much work to do that I am not watching movies. I'm always working on features or working on something else or one of my many creative projects. But I love if I get a day that I can just like play my Switch, play some Pikmin. I love Pikmin. But okay, I wanted to talk about this though. One of the things on this road trip that we have now seen is obviously with the dress code in the NHL going away this year, we've seen some interesting fits and some personal style choices from the team.
Yeah.
I wondered, as our resident style king, what you make of what you've seen so far from the guys, JT.
This one's gonna pain me because of just who it was. It was yesterday. Player had a pretty good fit on. I kind of liked it. It was Monty.
Of course, you liked it.
And that's why it pains me to say that
Oh,
I
okay.
like the fit. Came walking by, it was like a suede jacket, had the matching suede shoes to go with it, light colored pants, and I was like, "Man, this is kinda nice." I started, like, rubbing the side of his jacket to see. John looked at me like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, I just like this jacket." It felt expensive, so, I didn't wanna go too much on it, but yeah, no, it was a good outfit. I think overall, so a lot of guys have shown a little bit more personality. I think Tolvanen's done, some good outfits as well. It's a little bit weird, I think, at first to see just because 'cause we're so accustomed to seeing everybody in suits, and yes, like, there still are guys who will wear suits, maybe they're not wearing a tie, but I think it's just taking a little bit of an adjustment, and I think as time goes on too, guys are gonna keep evolving what they end up wearing to the game. On the road, it's a little bit different. Obviously, at home, you have a lot more options to go through, and a long road trip like this, not trying to pack their entire, wardrobe to go through, so I think, especially getting this trip out of the way when it's still semi-warm in Canada definitely changes what guys are avail or what's available to the guys to, show up to the rinks. I think as we get into those cold road trips, I mean, it's gonna be just a lot of pea
Oats.
coats and, Lulu pants, but, right now, there's some guys that are trying to, they're making a name out there, right?
So speaking of Monty, he actually came up to me last game and was looking at my monitor and was like, "What's JT wearing tonight? What is he wearing? Do you know what he's wearing?" I'm like, "No, I haven't seen him." And he's like, "Is he gonna be on the TV?" I'm like, "Not until you're on the TV."
He chirped me as well. He said, what was it, the Montreal? I think I wore a gray suit, purple shirt with a gray and purple tie, purple flower. He's like, that's not home opener in Montreal worthy suit. And I'm like,
Wow.
and I know. And I just said, hey, like, we're on the road. We got 6 games. Like, I gotta pace things out. And then I think he always gives me crap when I wear like
Sweater.
a sweater, and I'm like, you realize these rinks are cold. Like when you're playing, you don't necessarily notice that. So like the times where I do wear a sweater, I think I have 3 sweaters for this trip.
Oh.
It's for the cold rinks. Like I'm thinking about being warm, still having a little bit of style, and on the road as well. Like I'm not bringing 6 suits, so I need to bring suits that have the ability to change it up, but wear it with something else and wear it again. Um, at home, I go a little bit
Yeah.
more. I mean,
'Cause you don't have
again,
to pack it all up and
correct.
have everything coordinate with each other
At
and all that.
home or, on the road, it's a lot of blue suits. It's very easy. Obviously, it goes closer to team colors, and you can just wear it with multiple different things. But yeah, he likes to give me a lot of a hard time, when it goes through. But I do it the same way. I mean, I send anytime he's on the broadcast, I send him pictures, or if he's on the bench, I'll zoom in, take a picture,
Yeah.
and just tell him I'm always watching him. So it's deserved when he brings it back my way.
Yeah. Okay. I got two little nuggets from this road trip so far as well. First of all, I learned that when Monty is warming up, he does these figure eights. So now, fans, you can watch for this. And when he's doing these figure eights, he always looks at the bench and looks at equipment manager James Stuckey, aka just Stuckey. And Stuckey always does like a little thing that whatever it is, he does a little signal or something different every time. And when we were in Montreal, I had Brandon Montour as the bench interview. And then because of the bench in Montreal, you can't get off of the bench until
No.
warm-ups are done. So I have to just sit there the whole time. And so Stuckey was like, he was like, "Are you just gonna be here? Can I play with your mic a little bit for this little thing that I'm gonna do with Monty?" And I'm like, "Sure, I think it's fine. It's probably fine." So then he fake interviewed me, and Monty was just dying. He didn't even continue to do his figure eights, and he just couldn't stop laughing. So that was a funny one. And then I got one more too on the style front. When we were in Ottawa, Joey Decord was not dressing for that game, and probably about like halfway through the game, sitting behind the locker room. Nobody's out there ever. It's always quiet during the game. And this guy just in like light wash blue jeans and like a t-shirt and a flannel comes walking through. And I'm like, who is this? You are not allowed to be back here. Stops and looks at this monitor. It was Joey Decord because I've never seen somebody in light blue jeans at the locker room
Yeah.
like during a game. I was like, is this a fan? How did this happen? No, it was Joey. And he got a haircut. So I was like, oh my God, Joey, I didn't recognize you for a second.
I do think it's going to take some time to get used to, and that's like all we've seen has been suits and just a little bit of a process of guys starting to change how they, get onto the plane. They go to the game as well, especially on the road. Um, but I'm all here for it. I still like dressing up and getting on suits for the games, and although I think if I was a player, I wouldn't do it. But as far as the broadcast, I still enjoy, putting on the suits and having, or the thought process of putting an outfit together. And as time goes on, I think it's going to get better and better.
So you mentioned the sweaters too that you wear and kind of, all the coordinating packing and trying to pack smart on the road. That is something that it takes me so long to pack for work road trips because every single thing you pack, you want to be able to use it for like 3 or 4 different outfits, especially when it's like a 2-week trip. And where we go, what the city is and what the weather's going to be, as well as the arena and the conditions of the arena are very important to consider
Yes.
as well. I know that we have, though, different experiences. Like the rinks that are the coldest or the worst for you are not necessarily for me down in my position.
Yeah. I mean, for me, the best one for me is Montreal. I think that it's probably one of the warmest rinks. And ironically, I feel like year over year, all the players say that Montreal has the best ice. So you have the combination of it's actually pretty warm considering I feel like all rinks are cold we'll just put that out there.
Interesting, though.
It's an ice rink.
They were
Um,
slipping all over the place in Montreal, though. Both teams were.
yeah, maybe that was because of the big ceremony that was going on.
Okay.
I'm just gonna say overall in general, Toronto's gonna be cold. Winnipeg is cold. Washington is cold. Florida is really cold. Those are probably my top 5 probably on the call. I mean, there's a couple other that are like very, very similar, but those are the ones that like stand out to me. Um, but then on
Is
the
there
other
one
side, I think
that's
there's only one that's warm.
What was that,
is
Drew?
there one that's clearly the coldest?
There
Clearly,
is for me. There is for me.
I would say
Okay.
Florida is pretty close to being the coldest one. I would either say Florida, Buffalo's kind of cold too. I mean, yeah, I'm gonna go with Florida. I think Florida's gonna be my number 1, maybe number 2.
For
How about for you?
me,
Yeah, because yours is different.
right, because JT's obviously up in the booth and I am down by the locker room, and so every arena on the road is different for me too in terms of how much space we have to work with. I don't have like a desk or anything, and I'm just sitting in a folding chair basically, trying not to be in the way with like a bunch of cables and skate plates. Like it's not as glamorous as I think people might think it is. But there are 2 rinks in particular that are brutal, and that is Colorado and the wind tunnel in Colorado. Every time we are there, people are tweeting me and being like, Piper, you look so cold. And I'm like, I am. It's like 30 miles an hour winds in this tunnel. So that's pretty brutal. And a lot of times I'm like literally crying. Like I
Oh,
can't stop the tears from streaming down my face over there. And then I just have to sit in the wind for the entire game. So I usually just wear a coat, like straight up. I'm like, and I'll put a hat on during the period and then just like rip it off and hope my hair is fine and call it good. And then the other one would be Carolina. And
I knew that.
Carolina,
I knew those were going to be the two for you.
yeah, I mean, obviously. Carolina is also brutal. Similar, it is a wind tunnel, but the one nice thing is that they have reconfigured the hallway just a little bit so that now I can kind of tuck behind the wall for most of the game, and then I'm just in the wind when I'm actually on camera. And when we're doing the interviews on the backdrop, you can see my hair is like elevated. But yeah, that one is pretty brutal too. And that whole visiting locker room area is not ideal for any of our functions, basically. But
I had to add on to this one. Going back, probably one of the coldest I've ever been at the rink. It was partially my own decision. We played in Dallas, and outside was very warm. Not so much inside. I decided to wear my short suit. I think that was year 2. And I was like, this is the time. I'm going to wear it. And it was a bad idea. It was funny because we got on the broadcast, the camera went down like I was wearing shorts. It was a short suit, but that one was my own mistake. But even now, like you see it, I have a heated vest though too. So as long as I'm not in between the benches, as soon as the camera turns off, I put on my heated vest.
yeah, you got your little hand warmers
And I
too.
do have hand warmers, yeah.
Yeah. And then I would give an honorable mention on my part as well to a defunct NHL arena, Mullet Arena. No longer NHL hockey there, obviously, but not really equipped for an NHL season. And so I literally sat outside, like in the grass during those games. And I was just outside in Arizona and then I have to like run through the college bench and then into the building and then back outside. It was very bizarre. It's like there's birds and I'm watching a hockey game on a folding table. And under a tent as well. So we won't be going back there anytime soon. But that was a very unique setup because I also had to actually account for being warm because
Yeah.
it was Arizona.
No, that was a tough setup for you. I won't lie. And I mean, a lot of them are too. I mean, I don't think people realize how small the monitors are down there too, like in between the period for what you're watching the game on too. And no,
I'm basically watching off of a laptop screen from like, I'll go, what does Edzo always say? Like
yeah.
1926, or he always says some.
He's
So
always it's too like back in the day or whatever. How
yeah,
far back? He's got lots of sayings though.
it's about the size of a laptop screen, and then yeah, usually the resolution is like not
480p.
great. Sometimes I can't even see the puck, and it's like, well, I'll watch the players. But anyway, I'm not here to moan. But life on the road and broadcasting from the road is definitely a unique challenge, and we're also working with different crews
Yeah.
everywhere we go to. And I don't know how many people you guys have up in your booth, but for me, I have like 4 people every day when I show up. I'm like, hi, I'm Piper. Hi, I'm Piper. Hi, I'm Piper. This is what we're gonna do. This is how we're gonna move. Then we're gonna do that. Then we're gonna be on this backdrop. And it's just like an exercise in getting to know a very tiny team that you may never see again as fast as possible. So it's fun though too.
It has its challenges for sure. I mean, even just from our standpoint of like different booth sizes, right? I believe it was Anaheim where we went, and it's just not big enough to have 3 people in the booth. So then one time it was kind of like in the stands portions where it was kind of a fun but different. So there's just different sizes of booths. Like you don't have as much space, so there's not enough room to walk around. Again, we're really blessed at Climate Pledge Arena with a very large booth, very comfortable. But visiting teams don't always get the best at some of the rinks. So, but it's okay. I mean, I
Yeah.
think it's fun. I like John and Edzo too, so it's fine when we're in close
And
quarters.
snuggling up in the booth.
And I'm cold, so I'm like,
They
all right.
keep you warm. Yeah. All right. Enough talk about our life on the road. We did get a question about that, so I thought that was fun. But we've had some Kraken hockey that
Yeah.
we need to discuss. At the time that we're recording this, the team is still playing, obviously, on this road trip. So we can't talk about all of the results at large right now. But I do think that there's a couple of things to note. I want to start with Freddie Gaudreau has unfortunately been placed on IR. JT, what kind of a hit is that for this team, especially considering what we saw from him in the first few games?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you never want to see a guy get injured and being placed on the IR. We don't know exactly when or what the injury or when he's going to come back. Exactly what the injury is either, but I mean, enough to be placed on the IR. So will be missed for a while here, and I think just the utility knife type of player he is and what we've seen already. He's brought a ton of skill, but he also gets in. He's on the forecheck. Can play the checking line. He can go out. I mean, if you needed a guy to get out there on the power play, hasn't been out there yet. He has the skill. We've seen it throughout games of setting up plays and different toe drags here where you weren't necessarily expecting him to do that. And just an incredibly smart player. But I think biggest part through the early part of the season is seeing him out on the penalty kill. Obviously, look at the face-offs as well, but he's out there in critical moments. He's a guy that you can throw out and you need to win a face-off. You need a huge penalty kill. Let's get him out there right away type of player. And you're not going to have that for a bit. So it's about who can step up in that position, who's going to take advantage of an opportunity. And, can you just hold on until he can get back? Because he is a special type of player. Again, even though you're sitting him on the fourth line, he could play anywhere up and down the lineup, and that's really what makes him special, and just how he works throughout a game.
And also, I would add on to that too, his leadership for
Yeah.
that fourth line who's playing between Yanni Newman and Ty Cartier there. And Ty in particular had so many really great things to say about how proactive he is about communicating with them.
Yep.
And okay, how can I do that better? And especially for, that line, a fourth line role, and with two young wingers who are trying to kind of find their games or reestablish their games and really hone those roles. That's a loss for the team for sure. But hopefully we'll see. At the time we're recording this, we don't necessarily have like a projection yet of how long he might be gone. But fingers crossed that he'll be back soon. So I think another big story so far that we've had on the road as well has been a lot of extra hockey has been
Yeah.
played in this young season for the Seattle Kraken. And frankly, I think the Kraken would have really liked to have Freddie Gaudreau available in the shootout in Ottawa
Yeah.
as well. But what do you make of all the overtime to start the season?
The first thing you look at is points are a premium in the National Hockey League. And anytime you're able to get a point, well, obviously it's better than no points, but you have to find a way to get to that point, right? To get to overtime. Even though you look at the Montreal game, first period didn't really have their best stuff. Montreal came out flying, but you battled back and you found a way. So you have to find a way to get points, even though, a period doesn't go your way, instead of allowing that to snowball and getting no points at all. So you look at it in that sense and it's like, great, that's 2 points that you may not have gotten had the game not go to overtime. And I'd say the only negative part is you look at it, if you look at it from the other side, both of the goals that tied the games going into overtime were inside of 2 minutes. I believe it was a minute 35 and a minute like 45 for the other game. You're that close, right? You battled all the way back. You had the lead, but you just didn't quite get the job done. But that's going to happen throughout games. I think you look at, when the season is done, how many times can you get to that spot where you need to get to overtime and get those extra points, instead of actually losing the game? And it felt like last year didn't find enough times or find enough ways to just get games into overtime. Whether or not you won the game in overtime, those points start to add up. And it is a positive. I think when you look at the way the teams played beyond the result, ending up being an L, the 5-on-5 play has been fantastic. You look at the game last night, and the power play in Ottawa was fantastic. And you're just seeing things continually building and going the right way, and you're banking points along the way. No game yet's been perfect. I don't know that you never know. Like, the game is about mistakes, so there's probably never going to be a perfect game, but you just continually see the process and the team relying on their systems to get back into these games, even though they may not have their best period at some point. They're continually building in the right direction.
Having that mindset to continually respond to the mistakes too is so huge. And it's been really positive to see that. I think, at least for me, as somebody who's up close with the guys and obviously in game there, you can see, like, I feel like the mindset is absolutely different. When Adam Larson came out at first intermission in Montreal, after what I would think we would all agree was not a pretty period for
Yeah.
the Kraken, he just walked up. He's like, "How you doing?" I'm like, "You seem very relaxed." But that's kind of like the tone that it has been this like laser focus, but also we're relaxed and we know that we got this, and that's been notable as
Through
well.
4 games, you haven't lost in regulation. So, I mean, that's a win. You're looking at continuing at the beginning. You don't wanna put yourself in a position where you're having to claw yourself back into, whether obviously you don't need to really look at the standings this early into a season, but if you get yourself into a hole, it's very hard to get yourself out in the National Hockey League. So continually building points is it's huge.
You mentioned the power play as well. That has been just it feels like night and day from what we've seen from this team. What are the biggest differences that you are noticing in how they're working on the power play as of late?
I think, a lot of it just goes with, finding the chemistry, out on the ice and what plays are you looking for. And, especially going into the last game, it's about taking what's available, right? The players are out there for a reason. They got to go out and make these plays. But when you start forcing plays or you're getting a little bit too robotic within what you want to do, it doesn't always go your way. And I think in the last little bit, you've watched them, if the low play's there, they take it. If it's not there, all right, we're going to refocus back up. We're going to bring it up top to the blue line and we're going to reset and then figure out what play is available. And, the teams are going to adjust, right? So that's going to be on them. Hey, the low play is now taken away. What are we going to do? Or is there going to be a one timer that's taken away? Just finding that and getting to those reads as quick as possible. And again, it's about getting in the zone. Once they get into the zone, they've been fine. The puck movement is good. They're looking for the right things. But I think overall, it's just a game of adjustments. And right now, they've been making them.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been very positive to see. I think it was great to hear from Lane on the last episode and what his intention and approach was. But now that we've gotten to see what a Lane Lambert hockey team looks like in this young season, I definitely feel like what we're seeing is very much in alignment with what he said we should be seeing from a Lane Lambert team.
Another point too for the power play, just we'll say like it's great they've been scoring some goals and getting the looks, but it's always about building that momentum. And I feel like there were times, last year where the power play would go out and it would zap the momentum. You had the extra guy, but you weren't able to get in the zone. You never got a clean look. It's not always about scoring. I mean, we look at the numbers, you're not going to score every single power play, but if you can score 1 out of every 4, if you could get up to the 30% mark, you're toward the top of the league when it comes to power play. So in those times when you don't score, are you benefiting your team? Are you building the momentum? So when that next line goes out, they feel good and they feel confident and positive getting out there versus trying to pull the momentum back. Because as a penalty killer too, that's what I did. I loved being out on the penalty kill and stealing the momentum from the team that was on the power play. And they've been doing a great job of that, of just continually building that momentum on the power play.
All right. I got a couple questions here from
Okay.
fans. You want to take some listener questions?
Yeah, why not?
All right, I have a bunch. Let's see. Which one should we go with here? Okay, I love this one. Which player, this comes from Crystal Blue, which player has the most buoy and energy, and which KHN member has the most buoy energy?
Energy for the player.
I think I know for the broadcast, actually.
Okay. Well, you answer the broadcast and I'll answer the player.
It has to be Edzo.
Yes, that is.
I was going to say. Ironically, though, John, behind the scenes a little bit, can be a little bit of a troll for fun. He's, everyone knows he's very dry and he's very sarcastic, but he's not chaotic. So
Would I be wrong on the player side if I said Joey?
No. Although I wouldn't say Joey is a troll because he's just so
No, but I'm saying
positive,
the energy.
but he's energetic.
Yeah,
for
like
sure.
the
Loves
energy when you're seeing
kids.
Bowie run around and you're, that's where I was going with Joey. Like the most out there and he's always looks like he's having fun. Although, Bowie is the exact same way in my eyes.
Yeah, totally.
So I mean, there probably could be others, but for me, I'm picking Joey.
I would consider Tolvy.
Okay.
Tolvy is so sneaky mischievous. He cracks me up. I'm like, what did you say? I'm like, what? Because he says it so quiet. He's just like this little bird in your ear, and you're like, what did you say? And he does that around the room, but he's not, maybe outwardly as energetic, quote unquote. But his game is very energetic.
Yes, that's
and very
very true.
bombastic. So in a way, I would say Tolvy. He's got supreme chirps.
I think that those are all fair comparisons, but at the end of the day, there is only one Bowie.
Absolutely. And we would never. He's uncomparable, so we would never suggest that anybody could replace. This one's a good one. I think you're gonna have a strong feeling about this one. From Tua Zieg, who's the funniest on this year's team?
Who's the funniest on the team? Well, I mean, I'm gonna go with Monty.
I
That
knew you
one's
would.
it. But a second pick for me, like Larson. Always
Ooh,
he
it's a
is
good one.
always. I mean, a lot of times he's not even doing anything. Like I love too. There's times he just walks by John and us on the plane, and he just looks at us and
Yeah.
smirks, and like it's just enough. I'm like intrigued exactly what was going on, but
Like when
he
he
always
walked
does.
up to me in the intermission interview, he was like, "How are you doing?" I'm like, "Good. How are you doing?" You know, and he's just being like so polite, but I'm like, "Great."
I think he's got a good sense of humor at times too.
Yeah, he
Dunner
definitely
at
does.
times as well. I mean, there's a lot of them, but I'm gonna stick with my number one as Monty.
Yeah. I would also throw Tolvie in there for the same reason that I did before.
Yeah.
He's a different kind of funny because he's so mischievous and he's like pulling little pranks. Lars is big on the pranks too. I would also throw one more out there. Again, I know it's supposed to be the most, but Stevie is sneaky funny too. I think sometimes when we're talking hockey, people don't maybe see Stevie's full personality. But he certainly has a personality and
Yeah.
he can crack some good jokes. So I need to get him I need to capture that a little bit more.
Are
All
there
right,
any
next question. Let's see.
Drew, you got some for us?
Oh, Drew, you got one?
are there any prank stories you can share?
Ooh,
Huh. Plenty.
take it.
I mean, the easy ones would be like I remember in Iowa we sewed Brendan Duhame and Dewar's like their dress pants, the pockets together, so they couldn't go in their pockets. Their phone was in there. We put
Oh, their phone was in there.
yep, and then started calling it like with like during a meeting, so his phone starts going off. Like made sure it was on. What else was there?
That is diabolical.
You put gloves in the freezer, stuff like that. We've taped the entire taped every aspect of someone's hockey gear. The helmet's completely taped over. The stall was completely taped. Yeah, those are. But the ones that are the worst is when your gloves are frozen. Like that's not fun at all.
You don't have backup gloves?
No, you put them all in there.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say, I was like, yeah, I mean, you gotta just get a different
Okay,
pair.
Yeah, you can't make it that easy. No, you got to put them all in there. But then you have to have support though from the equipment staff as well. Like you gotta do it at the
True.
right time. You can't do it like we're not doing those things on game day, obviously.
And that's why you got to keep the equipment staff on your side too.
They
You
have,
know?
oh yeah,
You need them.
without a doubt. But yeah, because again, to sew somebody's pocket shut, we need the sewing machine. So who did we get that from? The equipment guys. They have that, obviously bringing it on the road for different repairs for jerseys and elbow pads and whatever else may break around the road. So yeah, that one was fun though. Obviously, trying to see them go into their pockets and they're sewed shut.
Calling them during a meeting that's where it's diabolical. Like just making their phone go off and like interrupt coach. That's
Layers. It's
That's
got
crazy.
layers.
Gotta have layers. I'm trying to think if there's any other ones. I mean, obviously, there's plenty of times you like put clear tape on someone's skates so they walk out and fall. Like those are pretty simple. Actually,
What about the ultimate prank, which was on Halloween on John?
that was very good.
On John.
When we all dressed up like John Forsland and tried to figure out how long it was going to take before probably 10 people walked on the plane wearing khakis, a sweater.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We
that
all
was-
got on, we were all leaving for a road trip, and I think it was on the day of Halloween, and John's usually like the first person on the plane. And so we all slowly like filtered onto the plane all in like a dress shirt under a blue sweater, khakis, and just one by one. And it was being filmed from multiple angles in his face. He's just like, what is going on here?
I think one of the funniest ones I seen too was Brian Boyle. He put on, God, I think it was this blue sweatsuit, Gucci sweatsuit that Kucherov was wearing. Brian Boyle and Kucherov are not the same size.
Okay.
So it was like a Tommy boy, and he ended up actually, like just from wearing, like he didn't try to rip it, but the seams ended up breaking just because Kucherov is not Brian Boyle's size. And so you just see Brian Boyle come out of the locker room wearing Kucherov's Gucci sweatsuit. It was quite funny.
That's bold, though. That's bold. Yeah.
Well, it was a good one.
Drew, you got any others?
Not not really on the pranks, but I have like hockey related questions.
Yeah, throw one out.
So, like last episode, we had Lane on, and we were talking about like his process. So I was just wondering, like, what should viewers watch out for? Like, what changes have you seen like on the ice that viewers can look at these like next few games coming up?
I think the first thing we look for like is the different structure within the system, and it's kind of hard to say because there's obviously still structure within all the years going through, and how is it exactly changed. But one of the things you look at too is just like being in the right position, especially throughout the neutral zone. We've seen at times where they're directly on top, they're pushing the pace.
The
Um,
breakouts.
Correct. There's times on the forecheck, our three guys diving in below the goal line, and then all of a sudden, one pass beats all three players. So you're looking at structurally, are they in the correct positions? Are they reading off of each other well? How simple is it to get out of the D zone? Is it quick plays, whether it's, 5 foot support? Those are the little areas of the game where when you start to see those, especially the 5 foot supports, the easy passes now, every time there are plays where you have to extend the zone, you got to push the defenders back. But when you have guys playing closely together, moving the puck, and then, obviously getting their feet moving, getting the puck back, playing that sort of hockey, that things are starting to gel. The system's making sense, and you're not thinking about it anymore, right? There's times, especially when it's new or newer, having a new coaching staff come in and you're trying to get rid of how you used to think, try to play into this way. You start thinking, so there's a little bit of half second while they're behind by just this much. Passes weren't clicking because you were thinking about those types of plays. So that's the things or some of the things that I like to look at when I'm watching the game, and that's when you can see when they're starting to build, they're starting to gel as a team, and really understanding the way they want to play.
Well, welcome to Signals from the Deep. Nate Brookreson, the Kraken's strength coach. Nate, you have been here for since the entire existence of the Kraken. We've worked alongside you and have seen, what you do up close, but I don't think a lot of fans get to see what you do.
The best, I would say, quality of the strength coach is to be as anonymous as possible.
Well, sorry that we have asked you to do that.
On this one today, then. I'll say first things for me. I think a lot of fans don't necessarily get to know the behind the scenes aspect, but maybe start a little bit about yourself and your journey to get to the Kraken.
So I've been a strength coach now for 18 years. Started it was 2006. I was a combine trainer, basically like getting guys ready for the NFL combine. Worked with Chris Carter in Coral Springs, Florida. And I thought that was the route that I wanted to take. And so I did that for a bit and kind of made a pivot, went into the private side, worked at Velocity back in Redmond, Washington. Just kind of got stale with it, decided I want to go back to grad school, went to the University of Georgia and got on the path into college strength and conditioning. So I went from Georgia to Eastern Washington, got into a head strength coach job pretty young, kind of got thrust into it. Kind of drank from the fire hose, but had a really good experience with that. Had athletes there like Cooper Kupp and Kendrick Bourne. Then I was able to go to University of Memphis and work on the Olympic sports side, and then NC State. And then when I was at NC State, was able to run across paths with Ron Francis and with the Seattle Kraken. So yeah, full circle. Grew up in Seattle and now back.
How does working with hockey players vary from working with football players?
I would say the biggest difference is more like the collegiate to professional side. With these guys, you really have to get to know kind of what their background is, what they do in the summer, everything from, their nuance of kind of their archetype on the ice, the type of player that they are, what they're expected to do in the system, how much they play, kind of where they're at in their developmental stage. So there's a lot of nuance that you really have to understand with these guys. But then, your touch points are more limited at times, because you're not practicing a ton. You're maybe not around them doing a ton of training. It's more preparing them to play. So, everything that you do has to be really, really intentional and purposeful. Whereas in college and working with football players, you get to work with them all the time. You're seeing them literally 8 hours a week in the off season. So there's so much developmental time. With these guys, again, it's kind of aim small, miss small. You need to really, really know what you're doing, have a specific plan, and execute it really well.
What goes into kind of developing a plan with an individual player?
Yeah, just some of the things I mentioned, just again, understanding kind of where they're at in their developmental plan. You look on our roster, you have everybody from a Berkeley Catton to a Jordan Eberle. They're playing similar positions, but their needs on a daily basis are very, very different. So really, again, understanding kind of where they're at in their developmental pathway, position specific nuance, what their again roles and responsibilities are on the ice. Are they a guy that needs to fly around and be very disruptive and high intensity for short amounts of time, or do they have to play 20 plus minutes as a forward? And then kind of just being able to adjust to things on a nightly basis, how much time that they're playing, all these aspects of travel and what we have access to in terms of equipment and space and again time with the athletes. So there's so many considerations that they kind of start to blend together and become more automatic in your process, so you don't think about them as much. You just kind of are used to it and adjust accordingly. So like today, I was training guys at a hotel in Toronto, so you have to you have to roll with it. You have a facility that has very specific aspects to it in terms of what equipment wise can get a hold of, and so okay, this is what the plan is. This is what we can actually do. There's 17 guys in the room. Like, how do we execute it really well to the point that every guy feels like they're getting what they need, and not just like hey, we just threw this at the wall randomly and you're just doing a shotgun approach type of program.
You mentioned time and travel, and that's one thing we have talked about. This season's a little bit different compared to seasons in the past. It feels a lot more condensed, and with the game schedule, is there going to be practices or not? Like, how does that change what your job comes from, even from, going into the season as far as off-season workouts, but now that the season is here, how does that change things for you?
Yeah, I mean, in the off season, I think the thing with NHL players that you really start to understand is that they do an excellent job of preparing themselves physically for the season. So that aspect hasn't changed. But when you talk about the recovery aspects, being very intentional with, okay, we have 4 games in 6 days. You don't just get to decide to train every single day because you're kind of pulling from the same bucket in terms of stress and just physically beating them up. So it's like, okay, we need to get 2 deliberate training sessions in a week. This is where they fit, from just a most common sense standpoint. These other days when I get you, it's going to be more, recovery. It might be, cardio type of work where it's like, all right, some biking, flush type of work. It might be, specific nuance around kind of nutrition and those aspects. So it really is, again, having a plan around everything. Like, I'll send these guys PDFs going into trips where it's like, okay, this is recovery aspect, like we're flying to the East Coast. This is kind of phase potentiation type of considerations to try to shift, your sleep schedule to the East Coast as quickly as possible. So these supplements would be helpful. This is how you can set your room up. This is what the temperature needs to be. After a game like a Toronto where, maybe the facility isn't very good, it's like, okay, we're going to have an intentional recovery type of session. We'd like you to be there and to be participating because we know that, it's something that's going to get us sparked going into 3 games in 4 days. So again, it's just always having to have a plan around everything, and then you start to look at the schedule, and the reality is, like, January, you have 17 games in 30 days. Like, everybody thinks like, well, they should just be training on their off days. Well, they don't really have a ton of off days, and if you train on off days and you spike them up again, you don't ever give them time to come back down and recover. So, like, the way that the body works, like, if you're asking a lot of it, you need to, build in recovery and intentionality around that. So, we'll try to concentrate efforts around training maybe on game days. We've even gone with some guys doing like a little bit of work, like very stimulative type of work prior to the game, just so they can knock it out. And it's not anything that fatigues them. It more gets them prepared to, physically be, going, strong throughout the game. So they don't have to do as much on the back end, so they can again start this recovery process quicker. So again, a lot of considerations with this season for sure. It's going to be a challenge.
What goes into kind of how you collaborate with the medical staff, the nutritionists, and the coaching staff to make sure, you mentioned the player development, but to kind of have that cohesive plan as an entire staff?
I mean, we meet with medical every single day. So, we're going over, injury reports, but really going into, okay, is there anything that they're doing specifically that is attacking or addressing tissue needs or mobility needs, what we're
Or
doing.
goaltender, maybe.
Yeah, for sure. Or, just anyone that's kind of experiencing, any sort of issues, injury type of stuff. Nobody ever feels 100%. Obviously, everybody's dealing with something all the time, as JT knows. So again, we build things into our program where it's like, okay, these are addressing common areas of the body, shoulder, hips, groin, just things of that nature, where it's like neck type of stuff, where we're trying to build those things in every single day. But we'll get that feedback from medical as to, okay, are we seeing more, just more of a, rise in groin and hip type of pain, and what can we do? Or is there something that we can, limit, or talk to the coaching staff about, high intensity work that they're doing on the ice. With the coaching staff, it's more just kind of giving them bandwidth around, simple heuristics like volume, intensity, density of work. And I know we'll probably talk about this later, but some of the tracking that we use to define what those kind of guardrails are. Because again, like, the players aren't robots. Like, there's times where, you can push a little bit harder, or you maybe need to back off. There's some of the subjective information that you get back from the players to say, like, generally, how are we feeling? How are we recovering? How do we feel, going into this stretch? But they're just like, there's kind of a rhythm and kind of coordination that develops between all these units to be able to kind of execute, like, okay, what your job within, the structure is, and you're just kind of complementing one another, in terms of, what their roles and responsibilities are. And then the nutrition piece is huge. We have a dietitian on staff now.
I might disagree.
Oh.
So slightly.
Yeah.
I'm just messing.
And sour gummy worms over
All the
there.
candy that I eat, I'm
Yeah.
like, oh no, nutrition is no.
No,
You've never seen a
it's
vegetable.
it's so important. With these guys, the quality of food, the frequency of eating. One of the biggest things that we look at is just body weight. And as simple as that is, like, those changes in body weight, because you think about, you come into a season at a certain weight. If that's changing significantly, those are adjustments you have to make, and just in terms of, load on the body, or fatigue if you're losing a bunch of weight. So, we have specific goals to not gain or lose more than about 3% of weight over the course of the season. We literally don't have a single player on our team right now that has gained or lost more than 1% of their average body weight coming into the season. So, like, those are things that we take pride in, but it's just a frequency of touch points and conversations with the guys, and adjusting things as needed. Like, okay, you need to have a post-workout shake. We need to have something at the hotel. You need to have something additional, on the plane, or, hey, maybe this is not a choice for you. You need to go more in this direction. And again, those things kind of work in with injury considerations. There's, specific nutritional considerations for them as well, whether they're in like an inflammatory stage, blah, blah, blah. But also, with guys that need to gain or lose weight, just always being on top of that.
Yeah, I don't think a lot of people understand too. Like, when we do the check-ins all the time, when I was playing, it was weigh in the day of in the morning, weigh in after a game, and you can see drastic weight losses, from a game. And then especially if you're looking at a back-to-backs coming up, you have to replenish, and that's where you're talking about the recovery aspects of it. And I guess from the other side, balancing, the tracking that you do end up using, how does that get put in versus how does, say a player comes up to you and you're asking them, hey, how are you guys feeling? Like, oh, maybe I feel okay, but the numbers are saying something different.
Yeah. We use the objective data as kind of like the primary driver, and some of the subjective information would be like kind of the secondary nuance of, like, okay, primarily, like, we're seeing higher volumes, higher intensities. We need to pay attention to this. But if subjectively that secondary layer is like everything's okay, weight's holding strong, they feel good, their performance is good, then it's just things of note. Again, there is always going to be a bandwidth with the tracking that we do. Specifically, what we have with the players, we have basically external and internal load monitoring. So external is basically tracking the movements that they do, and with that we use a device called Catapult. It's pretty ubiquitous in hockey. Pretty much the majority of the NHL uses it now. It's an inertial unit, so it measures accelerometer. It's an accelerometer, gyroscope, and magnetometer. So it's basically just any type of movement is being captured in the device. It's not specifying distances or velocities, but we're able to quantify things like player load and high intensity duration and down counts for goalies and things that are very nuanced. So again, we kind of understand, like, what does a game day -1 look like? What does a morning skate look like? If a player's getting scratched, how much load do they typically get? We can give feedback to those kind of parameters as well, so that they can kind of have guardrails to work with. But for the most part, like these hockey coaches are so bang on with how they do their practices. Like it's like they have this just built in, intuition where they know like this is how much they need. They have a really good feel for that. Lane and his staff have an incredible feel for that. But then we back it up and we just present the information, because there's sometimes people on the extreme ends that like, hey, this guy stayed out longer. He wanted to work on some of his individual game and shooting and all these extra things, and now that 30 minutes of additional load is accumulating. So maybe it's just a reminder, hey, get off the ice a little bit earlier, or do a little bit more on the back end for recovery. And then in games, there's actually the NHL is tracking in games with a company called SMT. So SMT is, everybody can gain access to it. It's NHL Edge, so you can look up any player. So that is the distance and velocity component, and we're able to see that as well. So again, those things can sometimes be based on the opponent or the situation. Like you can't take how much distance a guy covered or how fast he was going as face value of like, oh, he worked hard or he didn't work hard. It's not that way at all. But ultimately, you can see patterns over time where it's like, okay, generally they're losing high intensity distance per minute that they're on the ice, or generally they're covering less time in like these higher velocity zones. So you can just again start to understand, is this a pattern that we're seeing in other places? That's our primary driver. Secondary driver, like, are their vertical jumps going down? Subjectively, do they feel tired, worn down, things of that nature? So there's a lot of layers of information that go into it. So you don't make any over or under reaction off of one data point, for sure.
Yeah, and you have talked so much about the things that you are responsible for, but what does like a game day look like for you in routine? Like when does it start, and like in what order are you managing all of these tasks?
So yeah, I am a strength coach, so I do enjoy training. So I try to get up early. It just, especially at home, I'll walk through home because it's a little bit different on the road. So at home, I have to beat traffic, so I'm on the road by about 4:50 or 5. Get to the game rink now at about 6. I can kind of have a gentle build up into training until about 7:30. And then from there, you're getting prepared for the day. First thing that we're doing is meeting with medical staff, going over the entire roster. Is there anything that has come up that we're not aware of? What are the plans for the day in terms of anybody that's kind of in that, hey, red flagged or sensitive type of players? Then we meet as a staff. So that's myself, Jake Jensen, Jake Trost, who's our intern, and Colette, our dietitian. So we'll go over again what our plan is for the day. This is more specific individual needs at that point. Like, are there things programmatically, nutritionally, that we need to get set up? Are we auditing their warm up? Do we need to add some? Do we need to add just anything additional into their training, where they're at in their training? So there's a lot of elements that go into that. And then from there, it's just executing the tasks at hand. So the first thing is, players are coming in about 8:30. You're making sure that the room is set up. Everybody has routines and processes, and we're very aware of what they are, and they need to be set up so that the guy feels like no pushback on it, right? So it's things that we've entered into with the player. They understand why they do it and the purpose behind it, and they just need to have the environment to execute it. Because on game day, it's like, don't make anything more complicated or heavier on their mind than needs to be. So you'll have guys coming in at 8, they're going through their warm-up routines, and then they're getting on the ice typically for a morning skate. During the morning skate, we might have, a player that we're doing, some additional work with from a return to play process standpoint. We're tracking the morning skate, and then we're tracking the healthy scratches. Occasionally we'll do some work with the healthy scratches in the morning, but most times we wait till the afternoon with the healthy scratches or coming back around game time. But then as soon as they come off the ice, we're executing everything from a nutrition perspective, making sure they're getting the meals that they need, make sure they're getting any supplements that they need. And then we have a bit of a break in the middle of the day, killing about 3 hours because I don't drive home. And then when guys start showing up, it's kind of a similar repeat, rinse and repeat. Their processes are a bit different typically pre-game. Guys, if they're coming in prior to their meetings, which happen about, on a game day, meetings are happening about 5:25. We're doing, mobility and soft tissue type of work prior to their meetings. After their meeting, they have about an hour long period that they go through. Again, there's just such a bandwidth, a wide variety of warm-up processes guys go through. Some guys I run specifically through, like, Montours, Beniers, and Cartiers of the world. And some of these guys that, like, I take them through a lot of their process, and other guys, like, have things that they've done for years and years. So we're just, again, supporting those processes. And then during the game, we'll again train some guys and any nutritional and hydration support during the game. And then, post game, you're getting things set up for post game training. So guys will start training right after the game. It's usually very small volume, just touch points where it's like, all right, these are very specific things that we're trying to accomplish. This is what the lift is. It's, usually 4 to 6 exercises, and then they're done, and you're starting recovery process with nutrition and like physical recovery as well. So, basically game day runs from about 6 a.m. to 11:30 at night, and then you try to wake up and execute again the next day. Just figure out what city you're in. Is it a practice day? Whatever's going on. It's a lot. It's become routine now. I would say, like, when I first got into the NHL, it was overwhelming to like manage the entire day. And there was a bit of like, you didn't want to step on toes. And now it's fun to see how much of the process guys have implemented has been influenced by our staff. And it's like, this is what we've always wanted it to be. And it really is executed at a very high level. So it's fun now. Again, it's kind of like you're a maestro in the background and just making sure that everything is orchestrated at a high level.
This one has nothing to do with hockey, but I did my research. I can't tell you who, but I heard you are a movie quote guy, that you like to quote a lot of movies. Is there a specific movie that you like most, or are you just, do you have a quote that you can give us that you use all the time?
So I would say the one that we use the most often, or the person that I use movie quotes with almost all the time, we almost exclusively speak to each other in movie quotes, is Jaden Schwartz. And all the movies.
Research with?
I can't confirm or deny who it was, but
I'm 43, and I feel like I basically stopped watching movies in 2008. So everything I know is like comedies prior to that. So his favorite, or our favorite, is usually it's a version of either Tommy Boy, Black Sheep, or Dumb and Dumber. And it's usually any I think at one point I knew all of Dumb and Dumber, like literally every line. But we like to hit each other with the pumpkin pie haircutted freak a lot.
One thing I didn't hear you mention about game day, but that I obviously observe, is you're a big vibes guy, Nate.
Yeah.
Okay, you bring the energy, you get these guys excited, you're bringing music, playing football in the hallway, just getting them moving as well. How important is that, and how fun is that too for you?
So important. I think you have to be, you're somebody helping fill their bucket, because they have so many things that drain them. One thing they need from us at a really high level is consistency of like how we execute what we do, but also just like what our personalities are. And it's pretty easy for me to like be very thankful and grateful for being in this environment. So like, it's not hard to be happy and get up. And I would say naturally that's my personality. So it's I know it's really important for these guys to like, there's nothing that they shouldn't look at you and be like, hey, are you okay? Like, is anything going wrong? It's like they need just the positivity and the energy, like everything that can just, again, fill the bucket. So whatever it needs to be, like, it's easy for me to chuck a football around. I don't do anything from a sewer perspective because I'm not a soccer player.
Yeah.
These guys look at me like, yeah, we know you didn't play soccer, but I can throw a football and I can, do athletic things with them. So like, I like to run around and do the warm-ups with the guys. Like,
You can catch the football so it doesn't hit me in the
for
head
sure,
in the hallway.
except if
The one
certain
time.
people throw it too
Yeah.
high and I couldn't stop it. But no, you're right. It is really, really important. And I hope that like, that's anytime anybody sees me, it's like, wow, this guy is like really upbeat, really energetic, why would you not be? Like, I think that's like the greatest job in the world, right? Like, it's unbelievable. So yeah.
I've seen firsthand the energy last year in Boston when we were playing basketball at the gym. And
Oh, yeah.
he was an unstoppable force in the post. Me, myself, Ryan Shaver, we were trying to stop him, but it just did not work. I think he set a couple picks as well. So I'm like, all right, Nate.
Yes.
This was a losing battle.
I mean, when I'm around, again, guys that are great at sport, that like my son plays hockey at a high level. Like, I'm not a hockey player by any means. I understand the sport at a very high level from a physical, perspective. But, when you get me out of my element with hockey and soccer, and it's like, as soon as you put me back in my element, give me a basketball, give me a baseball, football. It's like, all right, I'm going to show you guys what to do.
I would say I think you fixed Ryan Shaver's jump shot in about, 4 or 5 shots on just changing his elbow positioning, where it was going. So, I mean, that was a fun experience just going out.
Yeah,
I think you were doing some work with some of the guys who were coming back from injury or weren't playing. It was just an off day in Boston. And we're like, oh, let's go to the gym. It's one of the best gyms on the road. And we thought we were gonna play a game, and it, up to, I don't know, probably only played to like 11. We played 3 or 4, but by the end we were just
Demoralized by Nate.
No.
we won one game. That was it. I think we had lost the other. I mean,
JT's being very, very, yeah, he's downplaying his abilities. He was,
well, we
he was
had
very
fun,
good
but
basketball.
basketball's not my go-to either. But I'm just saying, the post, there was no chance.
Okay.
Get him outside, try to make a speed move or something. Maybe we had a shot on
Yeah.
it, but the post was a 0% chance for us.
We're coming to the paint. No, I understand.
I was staying away. I had to switch. I told Ryan, I'm like, you got to guard him. I said, why? I'm like, he's way taller than I am. Shaver's got me by like.
You're a professional athlete.
I know, I wanted to get a bucket.
Yeah.
She wasn't letting me get him.
He was staying outside, guard play.
Nate, another thing that I wanted to ask you about, I mentioned this a little bit, but you also control a lot of the music around when the guys are kind of warming up.
Yeah.
What goes into what you play? And I know that you mix it up quite a bit. It's not always the same thing. Do you get feedback? Do you take requests?
I do, for sure. I mean, so I have the Spotify account, and like if my wife logs into it, she's like, what are you listening to? Like, what are some of these
Turned down
playlists?
for what?
Yeah, exactly. But no, I know that prior to the meetings, like you can only get up for so long, right? Like there's this kind of ideal level of stimulation that you need. And if you're like trying to get hyped up like well before the meetings even start, like hours before the game, it's probably not going to be sustainable, especially over 82 plus games. So we try to have like a bit of a mellow vibe during the the stretching mobility kind of portion of the game day. And then when they come back, it's it's kind of whatever the vibe is. Sometimes it's kind of like this club EDM type of stuff. Sometimes it's rock. And sometimes guys will just take the radio over too. Like I'm not afraid to, like, there's the stronger personalities or guys who are like Monty
wants to play music.
Joey, a lot of big booty mix, so it's whatever, gets the guys going. Like I'm not the guy that's like, oh, we're not playing that. Like whatever you guys want to play, I don't care, get it going. But yeah, the music is huge. And I feel like now I travel with 2 speakers just because, like, okay, you got to have it in the weight room, but then we're in the hallway, and guys are warming up in the hallway. It's like, got to bring a speaker out here.
Like you always got the speaker in one hand and like the football in another, or a medicine ball in the other,
Exactly.
or like
Just constantly running around with chicken with my head cut off for sure.
You got anything else? Okay, I got one more I got one more for you. Just I've heard so much from our players how much they love working with you and how much respect they have and how grateful they are for you. How important is having those relationships and that trust with them?
It's everything. Yeah. I mean, you can't go through with what they go through on a daily basis, what we go through as a group, without having a very, very strong connection, very, very strong bond. And some of the guys, like, we mentioned Schwartz and myself, like we have a very different connection than, me and a Karts or something like that. But everybody has like a uniqueness to that relationship, that connection, kind of the shared history, and we're just in it together. But I ask them to do hard things. And if you don't have that good relationship, you're going to have guys who are like, I'm just not going to show up, because it's not a required thing for guys to have to go in the weight room. Like it's, they're still here to play hockey. So they need to have a lot of trust and buy-in, that what you're doing is really good too and benefiting them. And that's where, myself and our staff, and especially like I'll shout out Jake on this, like we try to dig in deeper on like what are people in the league not doing? How are we investing in technology to do things that support like the development of our players, give them better information, instead of just like, oh, I'm going to do a zone 2 spin. I don't even know what that means. Like, well, we can test you and tell you exactly what zone 2 means. We can test your lactate. Like we will literally do lactate testing on guys when they're doing biking to be like, hey, yeah, you're in a zone 2 because you're not accumulating, X amount of millimoles of lactate. How we train, what we track during what we train, like these things, like they get the guys fired up because it's like, wow, these guys know what they're doing. But at the same time, like that relationship allows that buy-in to be like, hey, we're going to do this. We're going to try this. And guys to be trusting you to be like, yeah, I'm game. I know you guys have my best interest in mind, and everything you're asking me to do is helping me be the best that I can. So for sure, relationships first.
Well, this was awesome, Nate. I just learned so much, and I think that our fans are really going to enjoy being able to hear from you too. And just tip of the hat to you and the work that you guys do. Seriously, this was great. So thank you so much for taking the time out of your very, 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 very free time to do this with us.
I appreciate you guys. Yeah, it's again, I'm very aware of how hard everybody on the staff works, both you guys included. We're all working our butts off. And so it's fun to be able to sit down and just chat about this stuff and kind of give people a little bit of insight behind the scenes to what we do. So, yeah, it's my pleasure.
We're a team.
100%. Thank you.
Yep.